Hello there. Today I'm bringing you my penultimate project for the Ephemera's Vintage Garden Design Team. This is for May 2017, and again it's another fairly small project this month. I'm using a wonderful template called Whimsy, Botany and Whimsy, and I'll just show you. This is one of the pages that I haven't cut up yet. I don't know whether I'm upside or down. But you can see the gorgeous colours. These other pages are all pretty much cut up, but this one is still intact, and you can see the gorgeous colours, the reds, the greens, the lovely floral images that are on it. There's lily of the valley, there's snowdrops, hydrangeas, and this lovely red broom looking plant, plus a lot of collaging of old documents and things. And then there's these gorgeous sort of steampunk fairies. They've certainly got wings, and they're quite delightful. And on this page you can see there's probably a bit more gold on this page, so very useful. Plus these gorgeous black background botanical images which are just beautiful. So I've used quite a bit of that, but I've printed them quite small. As you can see, this little gift box is just over 4 inches or 10 centimetres square. It's probably about 11 centimetres. And I've made a nicely fitting lid, which, because I've only just made it and I haven't opened it very much, is quite firm fitting, but that's the way I really like them. On the lid I've put Take Time to Smell the Roses and one of these more golden images. This little tag was from the set. And on the inside of the lid I've just put another one of those little floral images because they're so gorgeous. The green paper in the back of this is from a book I pulled apart, and these were the sort of end papers. I'm not sure quite what they're called exactly, but they fitted the colouring quite nicely, so I've used them. I've actually used 2 recycled books in this, but I'll talk more about that as I go. That's the underneath of the box, perfectly plain, and inside, instead of, I have covered it with black cardstock, but I've also put a piece of black fun foam in there that's just sitting in there, and it will help protect the backside of the little book. Now all this is just a simple concertina booklet filled on one side with those delightful images from the Botany and Whimsy set. There's more of that green back paper there. And on the other side it has blank spaces right through. The reason I've made this, I better explain that because you might think, why on earth would you want something like that? I just love these to give to people that are perhaps leaving a work team, retiring, moving interstate, retiring through ill health, any event at all where you or perhaps a group of you want to give somebody a little memento. The way I really like to use these is for, perhaps in that black section would be a description of the work environment, you know, what the business was, where it was, and the dates. And then on these blank pages, these could be used to put, you know, if you're friends with this person, put personal details such as phone numbers, email addresses, Facebook, blah blah blah, or a photograph, or simple farewell message, whatever, something in your own handwriting. I really like looking back on my own mementos from work environments is seeing the handwriting of the person, reading their message, and it instantly brings the face of that person back into my mind. And I met some wonderful people when I was working, and it is so nice having a neat and concise place to have all those details. What usually happens is different people buy different cards, and some of them buy those enormous giant things that you simply have to cut up. You can't keep them as they are. They're so big, or I can't anyway, moving around. Something like this that's neat and compact. It's solid, it feels nice, it's got good weight, it's very, very pretty. So it's really just that idea of having a memento from the people you worked with, or it might be from different family members or whatever. And of course you can make it as many pages. I've done this one with 7 pages simply because I had 7 of those lovely images to use. I printed them out so they're nice and small, and that they can be quite long. They needn't be quite this chunky, they can be a little bit flimsier. I actually used a double book page on both sides of the central black piece that's holding it all together and creating the hinge. So there's a double book piece on each side, as well as an extra layer of this pretty green font book page. So there's several layers of paper, as well as the central black strip on each page, and then of course this and the cream, which is again is the end papers from the book on it. So it really is quite a chunky little number. It stands up nicely. It would be great to have on display. You could have either side on display. It would be really quite nice for somebody, perhaps again another workmate or whatever, as a birthday card, and you could have messages on the pages about the birthdays. It might be a wedding anniversary, it could be for any occasion. But I've made a couple of these for friends who were leaving a work environment, and I know they always go down extremely well. So that's the idea behind it. I'll take you into some of the processes I used to, the dear little girl on the back, some of the processes in making it. It's really very simple. I made the little box. It's quite a neat, tight fit, and that's mainly because I've just made the box and I haven't opened it terribly often yet, but it's already looser than when I first made it. A couple more opens and that lid will slide off neatly when I shake it, but I prefer it to be a robust box that fits very neatly. Nothing's moving inside, it's a tight fit, and the lid is not just going to drop off and fall away. I varnished the 2 images on the top just to give them a little bit more longevity, and they're both adhered onto a little gold frame as well, just to spivvy it up a little. So that's about it. I hope you enjoy watching the rest of the video. I'll try and keep it to a minimum. I'll put some photos at the end so you can see it perhaps in a bit more detail. And I'll see you next month. The colours are quite luscious, rich pinks and greens, very pretty. And the images are very sweet. I've printed out a few different formats because I intend to be using them in different ways. And I've also printed out that lovely collection that's quite botanically, sort of tag shapes, but again, those lovely colours. In addition to that, I've cut out a couple of covers from Quill Black 1000 GSM craft from a couple of scraps I had, and I've made them 10 centimetres, and that is going to be the size. I intend to make like a concertina book for photographs, and as a little gift for someone. I've pulled out some nice, beautiful weight, creamy paper, book pages that I'm going to use as the basis for my pages. I'm going to adhere 2 or 3 of those together so I've got a good weight to put my images on. And because these were a little narrow, the paper's wonderful, but the text field is a little narrow, it won't actually fit what I want it to do. So I've cut out or pulled out some pages from another book that's got some pretty green text, a pretty font and green printing, and I'm going to use that as the actual text field on top of these pages. So I'll get started on that, and I'll be back when I've got something to show you. I was going to use 3 pages glued together as the basis for these little bits and pieces, but I really don't think I'm going to need to. It's such a nice weight paper. I think a double page with the other 2 on it is going to be quite sufficient. Just need 1 more, and then they can go under the Webster for a little press time. I'm using my favourite Helmer Premium Craft Glue for this, simply because of the way it reacts with the paper so beautifully. You never see any glue lines or difficulty with the paper, certainly most papers anyway. Trouble is with recycling book pages, you want to stop and read on the way. I just found a pastry recipe that I'd like to try. There they go, there's 7 pages there, or 7 double pages, and I'll put them under the Webster for a good press. I've got the Caterpillar Pro up, and I'm just trimming these down to 10 centimetres. Last couple. These offcuts, even if I don't use them for this project, or certainly these larger pieces, will be excellent for making tags with. Cut them out with a die and edge them. It's a shame to waste the glue and the page. You can do a lot with that. When I pull a book apart, these end papers, this one's part of the page now, but the plain, I'm not sure that end papers is the right word, I don't think it is, but the blank paper that's at the front and back of a book, great for matting for cards and all sorts of things, so I always keep those. There we have them. We've got 7 little pages there. Now I'm just going to find enough of this lovely green text to add to the front and back of each of those, and I'll adhere those down. So I'll get started on cutting those out. I've gone through my scrap paper bin and found black cardstock, and this is going to be the central, 1/4 inch square, 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 1/4 inch squ part of the strip of little cards or little inserts, and I thought if I use black it will match the covers, and it will also provide the hinge, the bendy bits and the connecting pieces for the little for these. So I've cut them all to 10 centimeters, which is the width of my little sections, and I've scored that at 1/2 inch. So that is going to be my first connection. So I'll just make sure. You've probably spotted this has got a bit of a divot in it. It was a piece remaining for it. I cut a large circle on my brother's scan and cut, but I'm hoping that won't really matter. Now I'm just going to adhere these along the length of this and put a score mark. I think I'll adhere them on first and then put the score mark for each one. I simply don't have any metric measurements on this Martha Stewart scoreboard, so I'm just going to do it, instead of doing it ahead of time, I'll do it after I've adhered each piece on. And I should get, let me just see, I should get 3 on this with any luck. Just need a small gap between them. I might adhere the next piece to this before I actually attach that. Like so. To continue the length, I'm going to use the red tape for this, so it's nice and secure. Putting that up to, but not over the score line. I don't want it to occlude the folding. Of the pieces. Should have used the glue stick. But there we go. As I'm adding each segment, I'm creating a score line, and that gives me a guide to put the one on the back so that they're exactly aligned. And as I go along to the next score, I make sure that the paper is actually folding straight back on itself so that there is no, it's not veering off to the side, that it is quite perpendicular. And once I've got that score line for the next one on the back, it makes it very easy to place the second one. And once you've got the one on the back, you can put it up on its end and just make sure visually that the edges are even and that they're as closely aligned as it's possible to make them. Now I've got my strip of 7 little panels all adhered. They fold up quite neatly. I'm going through and putting the final text layer on each of these on both sides. So that's the text that's got the cream background and the green font. So I'm just going to go through and adhere those down. Everything cut to the same size makes it quite simple to adhere them one on top of the other without getting things too askew. Here I'm adding the covers. This is the back cover. I'm using red tape, but I'm also using some wet adhesive just to be as sure as we can. Just give that a burnish down. And these inside covers have got a layered mat as well. I don't want the layers being so close to each other they're going to impede the folding. I think that'll be fine. Make sure I've got the right side up. Glue oozing there, but I'll clean that off with the eraser at the end. Now for the front cover, I've got a whole piece of, it covers almost the entire back of the front cover. Just the way the central black panel worked out, and I thought I might as well leave it as cut it off, it might as well stay there. The wet adhesive over the very sticky red tape just allows you a little bit of slip time. You can get it into position without panicking, and you have more than one try to get it correctly aligned. Go. Just have to adhere that onto there. There we have it, covers on, pages in, ready to be decorated. And turned into whatever we want it to be turned into. Going around my little Botany and Whimsy images, the ones I've selected to go on the pages, and blackening all the outside edges. Just to give it a bit more definition once it's on the page. And also to disguise the fact that when I printed these out in the 4 on the page, it was just a slight, just a smidgen under 9 centimetres, so there's a little touch of white on one of the edges, either at the top or the bottom. It was slightly wider than it wasn't exactly a square, so the sides are okay. It was just the top and the bottom. And a couple of them I've got that difference a little more obvious than the others. So the black ink, that one for example, I don't know if you can see, but along that edge there's a little bit of extra white that a little brighter than it should be. This will fix it. I'll start over this one, I think was first. Love the colours on these, they're just fabulous. I did think of putting tape around the edges of all of these, but as it's adhering directly onto the book pages, it really doesn't need that extra adhesion. As long as I go right to the very corners, we'll be good. Some surfaces I put the additional security, but I shouldn't need to with this. again. And apart from the 4 pages that I've used, the 4 pages of the matte presentation paper that I've used to print onto because I wanted the lovely vibrant colours. That's the only new thing that I've used. This is all recycled. All the papers, even the chipboard, it's not really chipboard, but it is board. It's quill board, 1000 GSM, and it's just offcuts from other projects. I always keep things like that and try and use them. I have got very poor access to any sort of craft item here, apart from Spotlight and Reject Shop, which don't carry the quality papers and cards. They carry a lot of good stuff, but not what I want, and so everything else I get has to be shipped in, bought online, and the cost of postage is such that it makes me very frugal and careful with the products. Well, I think that looks absolutely specky. I don't know how much you can see, nearly all of it. Yep. Really like that. Here I've cut out a few layers of the little green lady with the wings and the lovely green bonnet and the snowdrops, and I've also cut out a pair of larger wings. I've cut out a square gold panel of foil for the foiled paper for the front, and I'm going to layer her on the front once I get her together. I'm just going to start layering her up now. Just using some multi-matte medium for layering her. So I guess it's pretty reminiscent of paper towel. In this instance, so I don't want very much, certainly not on this first layer. I don't want to increase the dimension. Just there. I want to get the figure in place and attach these wings. Brush pit pen to go around the edges. Sometimes the paper, when you do this, is very absorbent and you end up with too much of it actually leaching in onto the image. Don't really need to do that bottom edge because I'm going to trim it. But this one seems to be, this is photo paper, matte photo paper, and it doesn't seem to be absorbing too much. I think I'll add this extra layer just flat. Oh dear, it sounds like a mad seagull might be back with his friends. Haven't seen him for quite a while. But the school holidays are on, so there's nobody at school to feed them sandwiches, so they tend to hang around hoping for a handout. Keep that steady while I add some scrap dots. Oh, do forgive that noise. Starlings are actually bathing in his bird bath, and the seagull likes to stand in the bird bath, so bit of intersectoral discord going on out there, which I'm sure you can hear. Hopefully if we ignore it, it will go away. The scrap dots do take a little while to dry. So you have to be careful not to Sounds like he's brought all his friends with him today. Just tap that very gently into place so there's some dimension remains. Without squeezing out. Too much of the scrap dots. Now I'll do the same when I've got it out to this tiny little hat piece. I don't want that little face piece to be too, maybe if I push her chin in it might look a bit more realistic. There we have it, she's stuck down. Looking gorgeous with her bigger wings. All the better to fly with. Very pleased with that one, it's come up beautifully. Here I'm just starting on making the box base and lid. To carry this little project. I think it's quite important when you want something to look like a fairly special presentation that the container that it's in is pretty nice. I like it to be well fitted and just as well decorated as the card. I think that's really important. I find it's easy to cut these on the top because you can get right along the just on the inside of that score line. which makes for a tighter corner. It's not going to fit exactly, it was just an offcut of the black. But it's close enough just to give that top a little bit more rigidity. And use that green from the book page. Line inside the top of the box. I might put something on that. Now I want something for the top of the box and probably for the bottom as well. There we are. I think we'll call that done. Take time to smell the roses could be perfect for a retirement gift. You would change that sentiment up, but I like it. I like something like this that's, it's not permanent, it's still paper, I know, but it's sort of more, not as transient as just a gift card in an envelope. It's something a little more permanent. There we go, that's inside the lid. And inside the bottom we've just got a piece of fun foam just to protect the back. There we go. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next month for the very last entry.